The TI signals as a whole can be described as the activity of emotive expression falling off and freezing off the body and face. That's basically it. Unlike the FI signals, which could be seen by what they radiate outward, the TI signals have to almost be identified by the absence of what you would otherwise see. Now, to recap very quickly what was said in the previous video, TI and FI are different from each other in the sense that TI has an absence of tension around the nose area and the lip generally remains flat instead of subtly creasing up towards the nose. As we read here, the area between the upper lip and the nose, so that would be here's the upper lip and here's the nose, this area here remains steady and flat, showing no micro snarling, disgust expressions, or asymmetries while talking. So you notice when the talking is happening, the lips are generally symmetrical on both sides of the face, and there's no micro snarling or disgust signals pinging out as they are talking. The lips generally remain still, flat, and in the same shape throughout the whole time. And again, to recap this one, the TI placid smile is when the cheeks are rising up from the bottom up and trying to push an otherwise absent tension cheek area. And so there's this dual dynamic of emotive expression trying to rise but ultimately not being able to fill up the area of the cheeks. This is not so much related to having flat cheeks anatomically, but it's the way that the smile would rise on the face, again, in this curtain effect and from down up in the zygomatical direction, which is geared towards going towards the ear area instead of going up towards the nose. But a key component of this is that it also falls back down effortlessly. You can see it at the end of this GIF a little how easily it starts to just wane. So the smile looks almost as though it's just being polite, and then it sort of trickles down back to the neutral default. Which actually leads us into the next one, which is TI's emotional neutralization. Now, as I said, TI is identified by the emotive expression falling off and freezing off of the face. Now, everybody, all humans have emotive expressions. They are always constantly being emotional. But the quality of the emotion is what we're looking for here. And in TI, the combination of JI and T means that the activity of receding, introverting judgment is one and the same with distancing oneself from the emotional register. In other words, all of these JI signals that we previously discussed are tied in TI to a distancing from the emotional register, which means that as they, let's say, as they momentum halt, they also lose the quality in the cheeks. As we see here in one of our volunteers, and as we see here, it says the emotive expression quickly drops off the face, neutralizing the cheeks and returning the lips to a resting position. Now, the lips in a resting position can mean closed, or it can mean, like in his case, they just are subtly open, just staying there. Nothing is being pulled in any direction. So when TI activates an eyes disengaging down or a momentum halt, they also lose the emotive expression on the face. The cheeks become flat, they become inactive, and the lips just stay horizontal. In a similar way, we have TI4, which is stop-start articulation. And this signal is one half of the FE oscillation, because FE is the articulation aspect of this. And the stop-start is caused by TI. So what we see here is as there's FE gesticulating with the warm swelling and so forth, there's intermittent pauses, and those pauses are punctuated by the retreat of the emotive expression. And here in our member Bella, we can see once again that the hands are freezing and then pushing and then freezing, and that cycle repeats. Now, FI users also can do momentum halting. So what's the difference between this one and a momentum halting as might be done by a FI user? The difference is the emotive expression of FE. So if you look here, it says the hands alternate between freezing in their tracks and exerting a warm push outwards, stopping and starting with every phrase. The word here, warm push outward, is the key. If you notice, the stopping and starting is in relation to a kind of warm swell. So here with Bella, we see that she has a very subtle warm swell outward, and in the pausing, and in another warm swell outwards. And here in this GIF, there's a subtle warm swelling. And we'll get to this in the next video, but the warm swell is in contrast to the plateau emphasis. So if you see halting, what looks like stop start halting, but when the velocity kicks back up, it kicks back into a plateau velocity, then that's TEFI still. So in order to check this signal, it's imperative that there's also a warm push, and then the pausing and pushing is the complete signal itself. And here we have TI5, which is delicate pinching. Now this is described as a very gentle, subtle finesse in the fingers as they come together. I guess you could say it's the thumb and the index finger, but it could be any other finger. Coming into a contact as the person is trying to explain something with a lot of precision, because the hands become meticulous and soft, and they try to grasp as though grasping that Platonic idea with the fingertips in a very singular way. Now I have to say that some other FI users might also contact their index and their thumb in the course of having meticulous hands. The thing to look out for here is the finesse and the frailty. So it says here, the fingers not only pinch together, which again anybody can do, but they do so with finesse and frailty, as if holding a single hair between them. So notice here how very gently the fingers hold together. Now there's ways to do this that are not so gentle. For example, here in exacting hands, there's a pinching of the index and the thumb, but that is not necessarily delicate pinching. It's called delicate pinching because it's supposed to be delicate. And so that delicacy is crucial to the identification of the signal. TI6 is passive FE articulation. Again, TI is identified through the negative, so FE has articulation, and TI curbs that articulation, so that in this signal we see what it looks like when FE's voice is brought down by TI and have it trickle down. So it says here, the voice carries FE warmth, but trails off into a fatigue murmur, lacking any force of impact. The TI, because I didn't read anything that led me to those conclusions. I deliberately...
It's such a huge question. I mean, I think there's nothing more fascinating than the truth of a human being.
I don't know, I guess I don't have a very recognizable face, and I think maybe also I carry myself in a way that doesn't draw attention to myself.
So what we notice in his voices is that they trail off at the end. So for example, if I was going to say something and then by the end of it, it just kind of becomes almost like a bit of a mumble. So that was me giving an example right there. It's not a whisper, but it's more of a mumble. So that's the difference between the sprite-like voice. In the sprite-like voice, we hear the affected, radiant quality in the voice, and that's what gives it the soft whispery. In a sense, you could say there's a bit of a whisper in TI's voice, but it's more of a murmur. It's more of a mumble. So the trickling down to a mumble is TI, and the affected whisper is FI. And here we have TI7, puppeteer hands. I'll start by reading here. The wrists become bent. So here the wrists become bent. The fingers stretch out. Here the fingers stretch out. Moving independent of each other. Moving independent of each other. Here too. Like a puppeteer pulling individual strings. Now if you imagine the metaphor of a puppeteer is moving a puppet and each finger is attached to a limb or a joint, and they move each one and they move all of them. So here in Jordan Peterson we see, look at the fingers. Look at how much variation there is in each finger movement and how the articulation of the fingers is so varied. They articulate in a very varied way, somewhat like a spider. And these are all parts of TI's puppeteer hands. The next two signals are related, but I'll start with TI-8, which is technical stuttering. As it says here, the person stutters, revising thoughts mid-sentence, struggling to have perfect semantic precision. Now, as I mentioned, as a JI process, TI is trying to momentum halt, but at the same time it's also trying to freeze and trying to neutralize away the emotion. And so that is part of what's happening here, to the point where in real-time conversation, you hear that freezing happening, which leads to the stuttering.
What I'm going to talk about tonight is about a fundamental transformation. So what we're here to talk about is the solution. Now, a lot of people aren't clear on how much surface area is needed.
Okay, now let me back up here to show you exactly what I'm talking about.
What we're here to talk about.
That stuttering, it's not so much stuttering in the sense of repeating words as it is in struggling to get the words out, and also preventing yourself from continuing the sentence, let's say after you say one word and you know what the next word is, but you pause between the next word because you're not quite sure if that's the word you want. So that's all part of technical stuttering, and it all happens in real time. Now TI-9 is body glitching. Body glitching says, the body stutters robotically, alternating between accelerating and braking within the same second. So here we see in Jordan Peterson how he's struggling, his body is pushing and stopping, almost as if you had the brake on and the acceleration on at the same time. So if you know what it's like to drive a car where you constantly shift between braking and accelerating, you know the kind of jerking action that happens. And this sort of jerking, stuttering of the body is what happens with TI when it is trying to do that, basically the technical stuttering analog in the body. The same thing that happens in the voice also happens in the body, where the body is within the same second struggling and stressing to move forward with that articulation. And finally we have TI-10, which is fatigued demeanor. Now this is understood in the context of what I said at the beginning, which is that TI is ultimately about the emotive expression falling off the body and the face. This is the absolute epitome of that. So TI-10 is fatigued demeanor, but really, and it says here that the person appears fatigued, fully indifferent to social or emotive expressions, with all movements quickly deflating back to a lifeless inaction. You can see in this GIF here how there's no energy, there's no effort at all towards being, let's say, responsive emotionally, socially. So this absolute lack of social responsiveness is not the same as the kind of awkwardness, social awkwardness that we see in FI. So FI does have responsiveness in the sense that they leak out various asymmetrical gestures as they radiate out in a very uncoordinated way their emotions. Radiating out uncoordinated emotions is not the same thing as having non-responsiveness, as having an emotional flatline. So if a person is very, very heavily in a TI mode, they can go into a state where they have no social or emotional responsiveness, and they just appear to be lifeless. And all of these together are the TI signals.